now we're going to turn the tables, and we've got the Msport. What's his official title?
Well, we can ask him.
Msport Rally Manager. I think that's his official title. He's not the team principal, because he was at the door there earlier. He's obviously in the back. But please welcome Richard Millener.
I think he's milking the applause.
I think he's milking the applause, so we're going to try that again. Let's welcome Richard Millener. Yeah.
I think he did that on purpose, Howard.
Do you want to go out and come back again? Hello, Rich. How's it going?
All right, you can be less professional with me. I heard you.
He was very good.
He was very posh.
He was very good.
Not that. Hey, lad, how's it going down, Mara? All right, Mara.
Oh, we're going to say something. I get a question. Go, right. Thank you. Hey, well, the big question is, you've got Elvin back, so it's a big ask this weekend to come back from a little bit of time out, but we've seen what the team have said in the media about giving him a new car to go and do the job. What do you think he can do?
Ooh. I think we have to be positive, I think there's no reason why we can't challenge for a win, but at the same time there's no forgetting how hard the top three guys that are fighting for the championship are going to be pushing. And I think when you look over the course of this season and what Tanak has done and some of the times he's put in when he needs to put in, he's streets ahead of others. And it'll be a big challenge for Elvin. And I spoke to him after the test and said, "How did you get on?" And I think his words were, in the morning I felt like I was shit. I think was his best words. But by the afternoon he was back on it. And I think I asked him, I said, do you think you can get back up to that level straight away, because you're going to have one day's testing and then you're straight back into the rally, and three rallies out is a lot of mileage that you've missed. And obviously he's capable of doing it, but it is a big ask, but there's no reason why I don't think we can challenge for it.
Now, I mean, the car's been very competitive here. Obviously, you've won the rally the last 2 years in a row. Give us an idea how much the car's actually changed in the last 12 months.
To be honest, very little, and you'll have seen that a lot of the other teams have brought various bits in and changed different aero and different engine upgrades and things like that. And we've been quite stable. Everybody knows, and we don't like to harp on, but our budgets aren't as high as some of the other teams. So everything we do has to be very well thought out to make sure we're getting the most out of our investment. And I think the actual changes are quite small. So it shows how much of a good car we have, but at the same time, it shows how close all the cars are and how tight the technical regulations are, and it means that we get these incredible rallies where we're having finishes that are closer than Formula One races, which for me is quite an interesting stat when you look at how long we're driving for over the course of a weekend and the different conditions you get. So I think the actual status of the championship and the cars that we're using are great, and I wouldn't like to see too many changes, because you don't want to lose this close competition.
And like you just said, I mean, over the course of, there was a stage in Corsica, I think, that was 30 miles, and 4 different manufacturers were within, what, 4 seconds? Is this the closest fight we've ever seen, do you think, in WRC?
I think it's probably one of the closest fights we've seen consistently over the years. You come to every rally and you ask me who I think is going to win here, but it's actually very difficult to know who it will be, because anybody has a chance that, not anybody, but those top 5 or 6 drivers that are at that level can win every single rally. So it's great to see, and hopefully we'll have a really good battle this weekend for everyone to watch as well.
Now you've taken a new role this year, a new title as, what is your title? You're the rally manager now, are you?
No.
What is your title?
Apparently.
Rally manager?
No.
What is your title then?
No, apparently it's team principal this year.
Team principal, yeah, I apologize.
You'd never thought that, would you, Howard?
I wouldn't have, no. Team principal, so does that mean that you go to the rostrums now as the team principal at the end of each leg, so Malcolm doesn't have to go? Is that why you've been promoted?
Oh, so he doesn't have to go anymore?
No. No, I mean, what's the role for you? Because obviously I've watched it on WRC Live and what have you, and seen that you're in the forefront a lot more, and obviously involved in the decision making, and there's more responsibility on you as well. But one of the saddest moments I saw is how upset you were when you lost that win in Corsica. You were deeply cut up there, weren't you?
I'm surprised they didn't cut out the bit where they showed it, because it was quite obvious what I was saying at the time, which was... It wasn't damn, it was...
Oh dear, we lost this rally. No, it was just that, it was the tears, wasn't it? And the emotion, it's on here, like, you know.
Yeah, I mean, WRC Wales was the first one I ever came to watch with my dad, and it was the year that Colin McRae had that huge accident and lost the championship, and ever since then I was kind of really infected with rallying, yeah, and got to meet people like yourself, which has been a pleasure over the years.
Oh, thank you.
No problem.
That's
Very good at lying as well. And, you know, to go from watching from, like, the others...
Your dad must be really proud now.
He is. I can't get rid of him. I've never seen him so much.
Nice guy, like, he's a nice guy. Fair play. He must be really, you know, hey, my boy there, my boy, you know. When you're on telly, hey, my boy, he goes down the pub, hey, my boy.
My mum's worse, but no, it's, like I say, watching from one side of the barriers in some ways to being so involved on the other side is something that's really special, and something I always thought would be amazing to do, but probably something you can't achieve very easily, especially in Msport. You know, at the end of the day, Malcolm is Msport and will always be Msport. And at the end of last year, when Seb left, I kind of just, at the end of each year, I go to his office and just have a bit of a chat about the year and see what's happened and what I thought. And, you know, I always tell him I like to keep moving and want new challenges and new roles. Don't want to sit still.
He does give you quite a free rein, doesn't he? What dealings I've had with you, you do seem to be running the team, and he, you know, you go into him for a little bit of guidance, but it's day-to-day running is down to you now.
Yeah, I take on a lot of the tasks, and, you know, at the end of the day, I'll make some decisions myself, but if there's anything major, I still involve him. You know, he's had a lot more experience than me, and I'm well aware of that, and there was nothing wrong with the team. It won 2 World Championships in a row, so you don't want to come in and make huge changes and try to change something that certainly isn't broken, but it's great to have him there to ask and to sound off, and you know, he's a rally man at the end of the day. He still comes to most of the rallies, but he's very good and allows me to do more, and you know, everyone's aware how big Msport is getting, and there's more and more that he can't do everything together. So,
and going back to that Corsica thing, you know, where Elvin picked up the puncture, do you feel more attached to Elvin because you've come through, you know, you've come through the ranks with Elvin? You were in WRC2, you were in the Fiestas, and you've risen together out of the gods like 2 massive heroes, if you like.
Don't over-egg it. One of them's done all right, and it's not me.
Do you feel an attachment to that? Like, do you feel...
I mean, it's a strange one, because I started, like you say, doing the rallying with the Fiesta ST Championship all those years ago, and there was Elvin, myself, Craig, and the 3 that spring to mind that have all gone on and carried on in the sport and are still doing different jobs now. But obviously, yeah, I've been close to Elvin and got on with Elvin really well over the last 10, 11 years. And you do fight that bit of battle together, and, you know, like, we experienced the win when he was here, and that was incredible in GB and 2 years ago where we won those 3 World Championships. You'll never, ever beat that, I don't think. But to have been doing this job now and potentially winning in Corsica would have been absolutely amazing. But, you know, there's still a bit of time, and that's the next goal, is to try and win a rally, so it'd be great to do it with him. Now,
you won those 2 championships, you know, one with the best in, you know, Sebastian Ogier. You've managed him now, you know, you've worked with him for the past couple of years. Why is he so special? What's special?
I think he's just...
Who's there?
I don't know, I thought he was going to walk through the door or something, so I had to watch what I was going to say. No, I think he is certainly one of the most talented drivers there is. You know, he's driving... The way he drove was very different to a lot of people when he first came onto the scene. I think he kind of like introduced this real neat driving style that they all do on the tarmac and gravel now, and that he was kind of the first person that came in and really changed the way things went. But now he's just so clever, you know, he's so calm under pressure. And, you know, there were a couple of times over the last 2 years where he'd bent something on the car or something had broken, and he would come to the end of the stage and he wouldn't even let on. Nobody even knew, only us, only we knew there was something going on. And the ability to come to the end and not go mad and just shout and swear and scream and say, we've got all sorts of problems, you know, that is kind of the thing that shows the experience he's got. You know, I still remember the time in, where were we, Sardinia, I think, at the end of the power stage, and he ended up telling Danny Sordo before the stage that he had a problem on the previous stage with some electronics, I think, and we managed to fix it in between the stages. And he went to Danny and he said, oh, yeah, I've still got this problem, forget it. I'm not gonna take I can't remember whether it was a 3rd or a podium or something. So Danny went in, just trundled through to get the result, and Seb absolutely flew through, beat Danny, and Danny was going bloody mental by the end. But, you know, it's like that's the kind of attitude you have to go and do something like that, and that's those things and the thinking about those things at the end of the stage when you're still under pressure coming off a stage of what might affect the whole rally was just what sets him apart in some ways.
And
This man's desperate to ask a question.
I know, I can see, and I just keep doing it.
I know, you can see it.
Did that rub off on the team as well? Because, you know, you'd struggled for a couple of years, and then he came along. Did he lift the team as well? Was it because the attitude within the team, you know, 12 months ago was fantastic, wasn't it? Everybody was a different place, like.
I think it was probably the single biggest thing that changed the perception and outlook of the team when he came to sign for us in 17. And as soon as Malcolm said, right, we've done a deal and we've got Seb, you know, everyone was like, what? We've got him? And, you know, then you instantly know that you can go, we knew the car was good, but you instantly go to those rallies knowing we've got a chance to win this, and then everybody's doing everything they can. And he was, another one of his real good traits was he was really good at just motivating the guys enough to keep them going all the time without, some drivers will just go on and annoy you, and then you just kind of like...
He knew when to stop.
Whatever. But he was really good at just... And you do something and he'd go on and on, just nag and nag and nag, and you do it, and you'd be so proud that you've done it, and then he gets to the end and you go, yeah, we've done that for you, and he goes, yeah, but now we can do this. And you're like, oh, for Christ's sake. What is
the, give us the oddest sort of request he had? Just random, something really random that people wouldn't think of, that, you know, what he wanted. Did he want, like... You know?
He said on recce one time, so we have this problem in Portugal. Every time we go to Portugal, this same bloody thing happens. And basically, they leave the hotel at the last second possible because they don't want to get up any earlier. And then they go to the first stage, and they drive too fast on the motorway with gravel tyres, and they explode, and then we stop and change a function. So he moaned and moaned and moaned. So he said, right, we'll put tarmac tyres on your car, so you can drive to the first stage and you'll have no problems, and then you can put your gravel tyres on and away you go. So he drove down to the stage, got to the start of the stage, no problem, put the gravel tyres on, and then he went, oh, it took too long to change them tyres. Don't do that next time. Like, and if you get a puncture, he stops and goes, well, where are you? I shouldn't have a puncture. It cannot be his fault.
Constantly changing the goalposts.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you, Howard. So it's only 12 months since you experienced the highest of highs in WRC, and I'm sure everybody in this room does root for Msport, and you did things on a much smaller budget, we know, than some of the competitors, but nonetheless we see Toyota, we see Hyundai with the budgets they have access to. What about the future then? You know, how do you get back to winning consistently? And you know, we've just talked about hybrid with Pierre. I mean, surely that's going to be more expensive as well.
Yeah, I mean, well, talking about budgets, no one tell Malcolm about that story about the tyres, because he never said I could buy the tarmac once. Hybrid is kind of, you know, whatever you do, you probably increase costs. But I think the bigger picture we have to look at is we have to reflect the car market and the industry going forward. And at the moment, rallying is quite, not dated, but we're not really reflecting what's going on. And I think as we sit in this room, and anyone you ask in this room would be, if I was to ask you what we've been discussing in meetings about hybrid, everybody would say, well, we don't want it because we want the noise in the forest and we want rallying as it is, which is great, and it's what we all want. But you have to realize the car manufacturers, in some ways, are not so fussed about what we think, because we're a small part of their huge business and what they need to achieve. So we need to find ways to promote rallying in a different way to a wider audience. And actually, when you don't have children, but when you speak to people who like rallying and have children, their perception on cars and how the environment works and everything, and this hot topic in the moment in the in the news and everything is very different to how we would say. So, you know, in order to stabilize the future of rallying, we have to do something. But I think it's very difficult at the moment to say in 2022 what's going to be going on with road cars, and what we're doing in rallying, what we're planning to do in rallying, is it relevant enough? So it's a bit of a risk, but I think when you look at all the other motorsport forms, especially things like Formula E, which any motorsport fan will know is not necessarily as eco-friendly as it's perceived, they are doing something, and we have to do that. So the hybrid will have a cost, but we're very cautious of not losing manufacturers and actually gaining more.
And I guess for Msport as well. I mean, Msport is much wider than just rallying now. You know, it's much wider in the automotive industry.
Yeah, and you know, the more you get involved in deeper into automotive industry, you realise how fragile the whole industry is as a big unit, and you know, we have to do something to reflect it. But we can't afford, like I say, we can't afford to lose manufacturers. Actually, we need to gain them in rallying. And at the moment, the regulations that are there, unfortunately, are not going to gain any more. So we have to make some kind of adjustments to be able to do that. But we also don't want to lose the DNA of what rallying is about. And maybe the other way I look at it is if the world decides to go to electric cars or mild hybrids or things that don't make noise and are not really about the driving experience, more about transport from A to B, then is rallying going to become a sport that you go to get a release from the normal day life and see something you maybe don't see anymore? So I don't know, it's very hard. You have to make a decision and make an aim and go for it. But we're already talking 2022. That's a long time from now. So that's how far in the future we've got a plan.
It's not long. It's not long. I bet you've got a hybrid transit in bits up there. Well, you've got
what are you saying? They're unreliable.
You've got those hybrid Jaguars anyway, haven't you? You built 20 hybrid Jaguars beginning of the year.
Yeah, I mean,
you do 20-minute races which could only last 18. Didn't you?
Were
they
close
a
enough,
success?
Yeah. They're getting there.
So it's not alien to you, is it? In fairness, if they did decide they want to go down that route, you know,
Msport as a business isn't big enough to change the car industry's direction, and it certainly isn't big enough to change the direction of the FIA and WRC. But we need to be there, and we need to make sure we can carry on and bring the sport as it is now, and still as exciting as it is, but with this different twist on the future.
But incredibly exciting cars we've got now, and for next year, new developments coming?
We have a few things in the pipeline, yeah. But like I say, you know, you only have a set number of things that you can modify on a car after the point it's homologated. So there's nothing huge going to come. But we are testing some things, and we've got 3 rallies left this year. We'll probably do a test in preparation for Monte Carlo this side of Christmas. And with the new calendar next year just announced, there's some new challenges and new events there. Safari, especially one that nobody really knows much about. New Zealand, which we've been to before, and Japan.
That's going to be a money pot in it, Safari. That'll just be like throwing bits in it. But you've won that. Your team have won Safari a couple of times.
Yeah, I think Safari will be very different to how maybe a lot of people who've been there before know it, but it will still be a challenge in itself. And we saw it when we went to Turkey. When you go to these new events, you can prep as much as you can, but you can go to Greece like we did in the first year and to test. But actually, in Turkey, it's a completely different situation again. So,
do you think it'll be more controlled in Safari? There'll be proper stages in game reserves and that kind of thing. It won't be on the open roads.
Yeah, no, it won't be quite like it used to be. We have to be realistic in how the sport works now, and you just can't do what you used to be able to do. You used to have I never went, but when you watch it on the television, you used to have a spotter helicopter, and you used to have everything in the cost. When you add up the costs, which is something I hate going back to because it just sounds such a boring excuse, but it's incredible. If anyone who's ever knows anything about helicopters, putting one of them in the sky for a few hours is not the cheapest thing to be doing.
Just on the end of it.
Yes.
Rich, it's been fantastic to speak to you. Thank you very much for coming and sparing us the time. I have had a little chat with EE, number 33, earlier on, and have asked him if he'll stick his head through the door a little bit later. I don't know if you've heard anything about that, what his plans are.
The last time I saw him was driving away in a car really quick, so...
Right, okay. So
he was going to set his lights, but I don't know if that was an excuse to avoid you.
I didn't come by you or Anna. I phoned him myself and said, look, we're only downstairs, so pop your head in for 10 minutes. If you will, we'll see.
I'll go and put some pressure on him.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. That's what I wanted to say.
That's not the only reason you invited me.
No. Thanks very much. Good luck.
Thank you.
Let's hope there's some massive celebrations on Sunday.
I've heard Lando know on Sunday is mental. So
yeah, 2 years ago it was fantastic, wasn't it?
Okay.
Millener, Msport, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.